Free your mind.
There is only one force that can truly bring order and freedom in this universe. That, my friends, is love. Not the hippie or wishy-washy or familial version of it, but actually the highest form of love, which is for what is right and for what is good, and for all of creation and the Creator itself. This is Morality Matters, and today's episode, how you can create order in your life and in the world at large. So if you ever feel like there are obstacles in your life or things that just seem to keep getting in the way and preventing you to actually do what you really want to do in this place, or in fact that sometimes you find yourself confused or stuck or lacking the discipline or control or order in your life that you need, this video is guaranteed to be able to help you in fixing that. That, my friends, is because once again, this is going to reveal to you a huge secret that's been hidden from us all and done away with and cliched out of existence, so that instead we are walking around in fear, in cowardice and confusion. And after this video, you will understand the dynamic that allows you to free yourself from this and truly allows you to bring order in your own life and then in the world at large. So, my friends, this order, this force, is love. So, as I said, this isn't the familial or the romantic or the brotherly, sisterly form of love, although that very much is important in this place and it can do great things. It can also do pretty bad things and make us get very emotional. I am talking about the highest form of love that exists in this place, and if you live in this form of love, you are going to exceed in all of your endeavours, and in fact, this form of love allows us to all truly live our purpose and bring order and freedom in this universe. There is no other way to create that in this place other than true, higher love. So this form of love is the creative power of the universe. It is that which will expand your consciousness and allow you to reach higher potential in your existence. So there are in fact many different types of love, but there are in fact three main types that we encounter on our day-to-day lives. First is what is known as eros, which is tied into pleasure, desire, physical gratification, just your base instincts form of enjoyment and love for things and for objects and for pleasure are animalistic forms of love. This, once again, is important, but it should not be the be-all and end-all of what motivates you and what you aspire to go for, because many people actually have as one of their main motivations in life to have love and to live in love, and that's a great thing, but you shouldn't just be living entirely and following and just serving the force of your base desires of love. You know, I can love jam donuts. It doesn't mean I'm going to spend my entire life eating them, because that's not going to be a good life. That's why I must emphasize you've got to live in this higher form of love. Secondly, there is philos. This is one form higher on the ladder, and this is the familial or friendship form of love. The care for others, for family, friends, and our loved ones. This is very important because obviously it allows us to unite with each other, expand our connection with people. Very important, as all of these things are. But what is most important, the thing that you may have never even understood or heard of or encountered at all, this is known as agape. All of these words, in fact, are in Greek, eros, philos, and agape. And agape is the highest form of love. It is universal love, that which is the highest form of existence that we can live in, the greatest form of love that exists. This is love for what is right, what is good, love for all, both people and all of creation, and love for truth, and especially love for the creator of the universe. Whatever you may think that force is, it's not up to me to tell you what that is, but it's for me to tell you that this form of love that allows you to connect and appreciate and live for these things, these highest things that we can aspire to, if we live in this agape form of love, you are going to be able to excel greatly in your life. So agape is the love that transcends all of our base desires. It's the thing that is rewarded most in this universe. And this is the point that I'm going to be deeply explaining. This form of love is the only way that we can bring order, freedom, and healing to ourselves and to all of creation at large. Living in this form of love is that which will expand your consciousness. It is the only way to bring good and order and freedom in this place. And if you're not aspiring for this type of love, you are only going to encounter obstacles, confusion, chaos, and everything of the like. So all love, all forms of love, are very, very powerful. You can have a wife or a husband, and that you can, it doesn't even need for me to go saying that it's very powerful, the connection you can feel, and you can almost not even put it into words. You can link some sort of terms to it, but all of us know the deep gut heart feeling that this brings to us, this form of love, and it's very powerful. Same with the love of items. You know, I love my phone, computer, things like that. You can love them, but once again, you shouldn't live for them, because there is a highest form of love that allows us to break this barrier and excel into the stars of true creation and potential. Agape is the goal and the motivation of all those that should consider themselves enlightened. It shouldn't be taken lightly, and it must be emphasized greatly in everything that you do, because every opportunity that you experience in this world, every single time you have the ability to choose something, you are confronted, whether you can recognize it or not, you are confronted with the choice of, am I going to go for my lower desires, my lower forms of love, the connection with people form of love, or am I going to really just stand in my principles and stand for truth and for the creator of the universe and the will of that force? So a very powerful example that allows us to actually understand the force of love that we can actually measure beyond just wishy-washy feelings and certain definitions like I discuss. We can actually see the vibratory and energetic impacts of love itself in all of its forms, and even just how it expresses in words, in prayer, in song as well. This experiment was conducted by a Masaru Emoto, and this was known as the ice crystal experiment. Hopefully you've already heard of it somewhat, and I urge that you look up into it, because I'd be here forever if I was trying to explain it to you. It's redundant. You can look into it for yourself. It's on YouTube. This is one example of many experiments that allow us to actually measure the real power and effect and creationary potential of living in love and the expression of love itself. And so, just to summarize this experiment, he would get different jars and containers full of water, and he would put either words or surround it with music or prayer or blessings or speak to it. And then this water that had that applied to it, he would freeze it and then observe with a microscope the ice crystals that would form in these different types of water. And he even did them in lakes and large bodies of water, so it's not just on the small level as well. But ultimately, if you see in this image, the ice crystals form beautifully and orderly and geometrically in fractal patterns, gorgeous patterns, when it was surrounded and blessed by loving and powerful things. Even single words like truth, the words like eternal, love, thank you, angels, and most importantly, I love you. You can see the absolute blatant difference between the beautiful formations of these ice crystals when it was surrounded by things like that nature, as compared to harmful, low consciousness terms. Things like "you make me sick," even saying the word evil, you fall, things like that. And you can even see this in water that was polluted. So water that is already dirty, you can actually still have an impact on. And beautiful metaphor if I've ever seen one. Ultimately, the point is, this is just one example that allows us to see the incredible power of the vibration and energy that this form of love, all forms of love even, and this higher level of consciousness, when it's really expressed in all of its different ways, we can measure and really see on all levels the power of this. And just a little hint on that, think, we are, 80% water? You would be a fool to think that this ice crystal experiment couldn't be applied to the human body, because although we don't have ice in our body, the water, when it had words put upon it in the first place, it was water and then it was frozen, so it still has the effect on the water before it's even frozen. So my point is, think, if we're a huge majority of water in our own bodies and we're living most of the day and most of all of our time in these forms of love, both speaking them, feeling them, experiencing them, just think of the potential both in healing and just general well-being of, if we live in these forms of higher consciousness, the water in our body will be affected. Similar to the moon cycles, we can see how it affects the waves, our bodies nonetheless. That's why people always sometimes go a bit crazy when it's full moon. This is real studyable stuff. So this is why it's just important. Once again, everything I deal with here is science. We can use experiments to observe them. It's not just based on what I say, it's what I've come to discover and try and tell you. So, to really understand love, beyond just understanding the 3 or more forms of it, we've got to understand its polar opposite. Its polar opposite is not hate, although that can definitely play a part, but you can arguably be loving, hateful in a loving way. So the best way to express love's polar opposite is fear. Every action that we have the choice of, am I going to act out of love or am I going to act out of fear? These things can trickle down into their different expressions, observable effects, and the ultimate consequence that is measurable and that is going to come about when we act in either of these things. And they cannot cross over. You either choose love or you choose fear. And so love is the expansion of consciousness. It is the flowering, the blossoming of the internal flower that we have. This is the expansion and the opening and the creating of potential within us. It is the absence of fear. There is no fear in us. It is pure love, pure care, and pure potential. And this, my friends, as we all see, it leads to courage and right action. And ultimately, when we live in those forms of motivation, we can bring about evolution and growth on the internal level, and then as that expands out into the societal level. This is the formula for order and freedom. And so fear, on the other hand, is the contraction of consciousness. It is the elastic band that does not expand anymore. It is the tightening and cranking down on all of our potential and all of our action and motivation. It is the absence of love. It is the darkness that exists. It is the parasite in all of us. It contracts and controls you and makes you blind. This, of course, leads to cowardice and inaction. If you find any coward or someone that just is a couch potato, chances are they are going to be in fear in one form or the other, and they might not even know it. It might be subconscious, but it is a matter of fact that they are that way nonetheless. And, once again, when that trickles down, we see involution and stagnation, the stopping, the thwarting of any progress. We will stop and stagnate in everything that we do, and all we can create, if anything, is chaos, disorder, disharmony, and all things of the like when we are living in fear. And once again, every time we act, everything we do, we have the opportunity to have this motivation of love or fear. And you must ask yourself, do I want to live in a contracted form of consciousness and be tightened and squeezed down and just keep my head down and do nothing? Or do I want to be open? Do I want to be a being of light with pure expansion and consciousness surrounding me? And in fact, I will actually argue, when understanding this dynamic, there is only actually one of these dynamics that truly exists. There is one dynamic, and simply the lack or absence of it. This is that the only true thing that really exists is love. God is love. Creation and evolution is love. Fear is the absence of it. See it as light and dark. If I was to go into a room and it was pitch black in there, I can't get a flashlight that shines darkness, that I turn it on and it shines darkness into a place. I can only get a flashlight that shines light. Think of love in the exact same way. You can only bring the light, or you can only not have the light at all, and it will by default be the darkness. So everything that is good and creationary and uplifting and evolutionary is love. It is this light. It is the hot form, because polarities in everything. There's hot, cold, light, dark, left, right. It is all reflected in each other, and love and light is all that is true and right. And love allows us and expands us and opens us to knowledge. The true light that is referred to in all of the ancient texts and writings and occult symbolism, light and love and knowledge are the key. So consider this diagram when I talk about expansion and contraction of consciousness. Think of it when we are living just in our base desires of how do I feel today, of what do I want and what's best serves me and screw everyone else. You are at the very low base point, satanic, ultimately, for another episode. You are at the very base point of consciousness, as contracted and small as possible, and it's going to lead only to suffering and more obstacles and more chaos and harm and all of the things like that. Whereas if we slowly move up, and they all have their corresponding qualities, we start moving into courage and willingness and acceptance and reason and rationality and peace, etc., all the way up to enlightenment and the top of the cone, pure consciousness coming out into pure potential and evolution and growth. This is our journey. This is the journey of enlightenment. And it's the constant expansion, openness, and blossoming and blooming of the internal lotus flower within us all. And so love is the fuel of all evolution and all expansion, whereas fear is the poison of involution. Agape, once again, allows freedom, responsibility, moral clarity, peace, and ultimately self-dominion. The key to all freedom, self-dominion. Because believe it or not, you are not a rightful slave. You never can be and never will be. It's just a matter of will you accept it and learn it and act upon it. And when you're living in this form of love, you will allow yourself to be in pure courage. You want to be the brave heart of your life? You want to be the Neo from the Matrix? You have to live in consciousness and love and courage. If God respects anything else, it is courage, action. Why do you think the creator of this universe is called the creator? Why do you think this is creation? That's what we're here to do. This is for another episode, the depth of this, but the point is, we are creators with a small c, within capital C creation, created by the capital C creator. It's one and the same, it trickles down, and that is our job in this place, is to be creators, to learn and grow and create. And the only way to truly create something that is orderly and right and good and great, we must create. And to allow us to do that, we must have courage. And then opposing to that, wherever there is fear, there is going to be confusion, there's going to be denial, ignorance, paralysis, violence, and cowardice. And I say, if God respects anything, that is courage. Well, if God hates anything, it is cowardice. Imagine you've been granted with the incredible potential and gifts of even just life itself, let alone all of our things that we have at our disposal that we take for granted. You are basically giving the middle finger to God if you just wake up every day and you're just a coward living in fear and ignorance and denial and just for selfish gain. Once again, that is Satanism. You don't have to think that you are, and you don't have to wear some big Baphomet medallion, but you are still a Satanist if you are in this dynamic of self-service, fear, confusion, cowardice. It is the lowest form of life. And in fact, it is the form of consciousness of the controllers of this entire world. They do not have to be the controllers, but they are, as long as we allow them to be, and as long as we ourselves are in fear and in cowardice, and we don't stand up for our own sovereignty and our own power. The only way we can stand up for such things is to have courage, to have love, and to have the power that this agape allows us to have. Fear, it says, stay safe, obey, don't act, and especially, worst of all, ignore. These are the things that are going to create the chains for all of us. And there is a point where these chains can get big enough that we can't even get out of them anymore. And I'm guaranteeing you that time is coming sooner rather than later. So it is time for us to recognise this and eradicate fear from our lives. It doesn't have to be gone, but it has to be acted in spite of. Love, it says, do what's right, even if it costs you everything, including your life, including your comfort and safety and base desires. It is about doing what is right, and it is about caring. And it is all about what your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions align with and then bring into the world. So if you think in fear, you feel scared, then you are going to definitely act in fear. Opposingly, if you do it in love, once again, it's a formula, it trickles down. By definition, you are going to experience the things that they bring into existence. And so here is the real meat and potatoes of this information. The key of all keys that will allow us to either create paradise on earth or either create a global prison. Love or fear is what is key in this time. And so if you take a deep look and study of this diagram and table that I'm about to show you, it gives you the complete, definite formula of how you can really create this order and this chaos, good versus evil, that I speak of. It all begins, once again, with the thing that we use to create in the world, what is known as the generative polarity, the polar opposites of love or fear, the thing that generates all results, where it completely begins from the first expression of all of this. So, what matters first? Are you using love or are you using fear to create? Are you in consciousness or unconsciousness? Are you in all of the opposing dynamics that I speak of? Are you confident and courageous, or are you cowardly and ignorant? So it all begins at this very top point in the positive or negative forms, and then when we go down one step, we are getting into the realms of actually observable things. And this is once again why it's a science, because we can measure all of these things and we can see how each of these things trickle down. They do not cross over, they do not reverse, it is down. And so when you begin, starting with positive of course, when we first of all act and have this motivation of love and consciousness, the thing that is initiating all of this, the initiating expression, how it all starts with knowledge. Because when you have this love and have this consciousness, It is the expansion and the openness, and you open yourself to knowledge. Knowledge, in other words, is the acceptance of truth. It's as simple as that. As much as the spiritual New Age hippies will tell you we can't know anything and there's my truth and her truth and his truth, there is only the truth. And in fact, there is no higher virtue. There is no other religion, in fact, than truth. And love and consciousness allows us to open up and expand ourselves to accept what is true. In other words, to gain knowledge. Hopefully you understand the importance of truth, because just like Jesus Christ said, know the truth and the truth will set you free. That is the utmost importance of this, all of this information. Know the truth and you'll be in the best place that you can be. And so once we get that knowledge and we start accepting what is true and living in love and consciousness, then there is the internal expression that will come about from this. And that is sovereignty. Hopefully you've heard of this term before. It doesn't refer to money and it doesn't refer to the kings and queens. It refers to us all. Because whether you believe it or accept it or not, you are a sovereign. So sovereignty ultimately means above or free from the external control of others. And this is why it says internal monarchy. Because as much as people want to believe and have hope in and faith in a king or queen, there is only one true ruler in each of our lives, and that is ourself. We must have internal monarchy. Monarchy meaning one ruler, mon and archon, one ruler. That is the only true and right monarchy that can exist. The only true rulership that can exist is the rulership of the self and the ownership of ourselves and our consciousness and the rights of our own body. So we have this internal monarchy, we realise and have internally this form of sovereignty. We really respect and understand and stand up for our own sovereignty. We do this on the collective and don't let anyone infringe upon us, because as soon as they do, they are threatening our own sovereignty, and then things are getting very rocky, and self-defense may get into play for another episode. But the point is, we have knowledge, we have love, knowledge, sovereignty, and then we have the external expression, the thing that will follow when we are living in these dynamics. And that is what happens in society at large. And that is the result of what happens on the internal level, because it aggregates and then it creates what's in society. And this is the one true goal of everything: freedom. What is truly known as external anarchy. And people think anarchy is chaos. I'm going to have a whole episode in of itself of what anarchy truly is, because it's not people in bandanas throwing Molotovs at buildings and blowing up cars. That is what it's been psyoped into people thinking it is. Anarchy simply means the lack of rulers. No rulers. In fact, the motto of this channel: no masters, no slaves. That is what it's all about, and that's what true anarchy is. And this is freedom. We have an internal monarch. We only rule ourselves, and the only dominion that it really exists is self-dominion, and this is brought about from love. We have this internal monarchy. We rule ourselves and don't let anyone else rule us. And then the external anarchy, the external non-ruler, where no one is infringing upon another and no one's controlling another. That is the expression of what happens in society at large, and it is the root of freedom. It cannot be brought about any other way, especially through fear and ignorance and all of the things that trickle down there. And so when we have all of these dynamics, freedom, which we don't have in society now, we do have in parts, and we have the illusion of freedom, but actually we have partial freedom. We have invisible chains that we don't even know about, and that's the problem, because if you don't know about the chains existing on you, how are you going to know that you should fight back against it? So when we have this freedom, the thing that by definition will follow, the manifestation and result that creates in this universe, once again, that is measurable by the scientific method and by things like the trivium, this is order. True order, freedom, and unity in the world. The thing that we should aspire to, and natural order. This is manifested good. All of the things that can expand from that Let your imagination do the working, but this is the only way to bring about true order. Starts with love in what we use. Knowledge is gained upon ourselves. We understand our sovereignty and we live in it and stand up for it no matter what. Then we see freedom come about from that. And then guaranteed, it may not be super easy, but it is guaranteed that order must come about from that. If the aggregate works with internal monarchy and then external anarchy, we get freedom and order. And you can just imagine the society that would be created from this. If everyone truly understand their own rights, respect the rights of others. I know this sounds idealistic and it's not going to be done all at once, especially in comparison to how low consciousness and how absent this agape love is in general society now. If we had a society that lived like this, we could do anything, quite honestly. And hopefully that's a place where we go in the future instead of the exact polar opposite. But in all realisticness, I don't think it's going to happen. But that's for another episode. The point is, you must understand this and do your very best to try and create this in the world. And so next, if you're not living in this positive dynamic and you're on the absolute negative side of it, the thing that is all that is destructive and horrible and negative, it is fear, of course. And this is unconsciousness. You are mentally and spiritually asleep and unconscious and contracted in yourself. This, instead of bringing about knowledge, is ignorance. Ignorance is the root of all evil. It is the refusal of truth, no matter what. And of course, there are some things that we just simply can't know, and that's a different story. That is nescience. But ignorance is having the availability to learn things, which in this day and age, anything you want to know is basically a Google search away or a book reading away. If you live in ignorance, you are only going to bring about to yourself confusion or internal anarchy. This is the real danger, and this is the problem. If we are all living with no ruler within our own house and within our own body, we are screwed, because we are going to just be constantly confused. We are going to constantly want to impose control upon other people. We are going to be in chaos within ourselves. And then, of course, once again, when that bleeds out into the aggregate, it's only going to be able to create harm, suffering, and ultimately, the external expression, what happens in all of society, control. Exactly what we have now. Why? Because this is external monarchy. Take it from me, someone who lives in the UK, we still have a monarch, and people think that this is rightful, that we can bow down to someone that claims that they are ordained by God through their bloodline as being royalty, as being someone that rightfully rules other people. It's all in inversion. Most people are living in this internal anarchy, or if they hopefully are living in internal monarchy, still, if they believe in this external version of monarchy, whether it's through kingship, queenship, president, parliament, whatever you want to euphemize it and call it, until we realise that we have to own ourselves and stand up for our own rights and the rights of our general society, and realise that external monarchy can only bring about control, suffering, slavery and trouble and harm, we will not be able to bring about the order and freedom that we seek. So until we realise internal anarchy and external monarchy is the reverse of what we need. Because the manifestation, the thing that we by law will create from this fear, ignorance, confusion, control, we will bring chaos. This is what anarchy is believed to be. Chaos and people smashing things and everyone, living like animals and just kill someone just to take their stuff. And that is not true anarchy. That is chaos, but that's not what anarchy means. Once again, that'll be for a different video, but the point is, manifested evil is chaos, and it will come about from fear, ignorance, confusion, control. And my friends, this is the thing that we should constantly remind ourselves to not live for. You must eradicate this from yourself, whether it's completely removing it from yourself, which is not even really possible to completely eradicate from. It's about acting in spite of this fear and aspiring to live in love. So tyranny, world tyranny, as much as it's getting worse and worse and already exists largely, it comes not from strength, but it comes from weakness, fear, and things of the like. And it only can create that. You cannot create tyranny out of love. You might have the intention or try and make justifications for it, but love and knowledge and sovereignty cannot create chaos, and fear, ignorance, confusion, and control cannot create order. It can create the illusion of order, where you have the jackboots and the Nazi stormtroopers running around just trying to enforce the order. It's only their order. It is only the man-made law of the jungle form of order. There is only one true form of order, and that is freedom, the natural order. The controllers of our world run on fear, and compliance and obedience to it is fear. It is fear-based, and it will only bring us more chaos, more of the same, and it cannot bring anything good until we recognize it and break free from it. So how do we break free from it? If you haven't already gathered, we must have agape, even for your enemies, even for the truth, as painful as it may be. No matter what, you must seek knowledge. You must understand your own sovereignty. You must seek and work towards freedom accordingly. And then that is the only way we can bring order. And of course, this doesn't have to be done all at once. It doesn't have to be done overnight or some huge ideal that we can only aspire to and never actually achieve. It is done gradually. It is a matter of understanding it's a marathon, and understanding that it is as long as we are walking that path and we are slowly going up the graph, anything is better than going down like we are currently. And the only way to do this or this is love or fear. You see? It is about what is done most of the time. It is what is done on the aggregate, and it's about constantly returning back to the awareness of who you really are, of what really matters, and how we act and judge others, toward others. That is all that matters. It starts from within, and then it goes without. So finally, I need to emphasize this point. If you need to and want to really bring order, freedom, and all of the beautiful things that come with it that have been discussed, remind yourself you are always choosing between two paths. The expanding light and love that is truth and freedom, or the shrinking, tiny, horrific darkness, the parasite, the void that is fear and everything that follows. It is fear, lies, and control. Love isn't weak like the hippies may be, living on their commune and then gets steamrolled by the order followers. It is powerful. It is the shield and it is the sword that allows us to fight back against control, slavery, and tyranny. It's not a matter of pacifism. It's not a matter of wishy-washy, peace and love, man. That's the false and only halfway form of love. Once again, agape. When you stand in the power of righteousness and the power of truth, that will be our protection, our armour. And there is no other armour that can be brought about. It is the root of all divine power and all potential. It is the organising principle of the chaos of the cosmos, and it is the ultimate expression of God. Some may try and argue that fear and control can bring about power, but it is only the harmful, tyrannical form of power. Someone has got to be stepped on if you can find power in fear. And even then, it's not true power. It is suffering and slavery. And that is the only thing that will bring about chaos and control and harm in this universe. It is something that we should be done away with, not aspired to, if we are seeking true power in our lives. And so, to be sovereign, to be moral and free, you must live in agape. The opposite of fear is not courage, it is love. And courage is the child born of that love. So I think I've hammered in the point well enough, at least for now. So I'll leave you with this. Ask yourself, are we currently in the world, as an aggregate, moving towards freedom and order? Or are people at large, at least, just as ignorant, cowardly and selfish as ever? It's been that way throughout all of history, and now it's just in a different form. It doesn't have to be that way. It's a matter of what will we do. And until it changes, that people at large live in love, whatever form it may be, anything other than our base desires, until we live for love and expand our consciousness and seek knowledge, understand our sovereignty, only then can we create freedom. And if we do not, I'm guaranteeing you, we are going to be in a terrible place. And in fact, there is a time where there is no turning back. So I advocate you ask yourself this and really reflect on where the world currently is, and most importantly, reflect where you currently are. Where do your motivations lie? How much does love influence you? How much are you motivated by love and the expansion of consciousness? Do you understand agape and do you live for it? Do you aspire for it and serve it? Or do you serve an external master that tells you what to do? And do you just live for money or base desires or females or whatever? Do you seek what is truly right? And do you really want to create what is right? So this is not my opinion. It is a matter of fact that if we want to create order in the world, we must start seeking knowledge. We must start working towards love and then helping others do the same. I hope you can hear the truth in this information, and if you have appreciated this information, I urge that you like, subscribe, all of those things to help get this around to as many people as possible. Visit the website moralitymatters.co.uk, turn on notifications, share it with people, and listen to the other videos, because I can guarantee you can get whatever you desire. You can create freedom and order in your own life. You can get rid of all of the obstacles and all of the negative aspects of your life. You can eradicate yourself from fear, and you can become disciplined and achieve your wildest dreams. You must start working towards what is right if you really want order in your life. This has been Morality Matters, and remember, there is only one rule. Do no harm. No masters, no slaves. Love is the law. Love under will. Until next time, choose love and choose morality. See you later.